The bell had already rung, the hallway was almost empty, and no one noticed the small boy collapsing near the cafeteria trash cans. A janitor with a worn mop bucket was the only one close enough to see it happen, the only one who realized the child was choking, the only one who ran toward danger instead of away from it. What no one knew yet was that this boy was the son of a Hells Angels biker, and that one quiet act of courage was about to turn an invisible man's life upside down forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, Only Kindness. Your support helps stories like this reach the world. Caleb Moore had spent most of his life being unseen. At 52, he moved through the school halls after hours, cleaning up messes that were never his, fixing what others broke, and collecting glances that slid past him like he wasn't there. He worked 2 jobs, slept in a small rented room, and carried the quiet weight of loss after losing his wife years earlier. The school janitor job was not glamorous, but it was steady, and it allowed him to feel useful in a world that rarely asked his name. Every morning, he arrived before sunrise and left long after students were gone, his presence blending into the background of buzzing lights and echoing lockers. That afternoon, he was clearing trays near the cafeteria when he noticed a boy sitting alone, rocking slightly, clutching his throat. The boy's face was turning a frightening shade, eyes wide with panic. Teachers had already left for meetings, students were rushing out, and precious seconds were slipping away. Caleb didn't freeze. He dropped his mop, rushed forward, and acted on instinct, performing the emergency response he had learned years ago during a required safety training no one else seemed to remember. His arms moved with urgency, his heart pounding as if it might burst, until the obstruction finally came free and the boy collapsed into coughing sobs on the floor. The child's name was Noah Parker. He was autistic, sensitive to noise and crowds, and often overwhelmed at school. That day, he had tried to eat too quickly after being teased, his body locking up in panic when he couldn't breathe. When help arrived, Noah was safe, but Caleb stood shaking, adrenaline wearing off, realizing how close it had been. He quietly returned to his work, not expecting thanks, not expecting anything at all. Saving someone felt like something you did, not something you were rewarded for. What Caleb didn't know was who Noah's father was. Marcus Ridge Parker was not a man schools usually dealt with. He was a senior member of the Hells Angels, known across counties for his imposing presence, leather vest, and a loyalty that ran as deep as it ran fierce. Noah was his world. The boy's diagnosis had changed Marcus in ways few people understood. He had traded late-night rides for therapy appointments, loud clubhouses for quiet evenings, learning patience in a life that once thrived on chaos. When he received the call that his son had nearly died at school, fear hit him harder than any fight ever had. Marcus arrived on campus like a storm, but what he found disarmed him. The principal explained everything, including the name of the man who had saved Noah. Marcus asked to meet him. Caleb was called into the office, confused, still smelling faintly of cleaning solution, his hands rough and cracked from years of labor. When he saw Marcus standing there, leather-clad, eyes intense, flanked by 2 other bikers, his stomach dropped. He had spent his life avoiding trouble, not stepping into it. The moment Marcus looked at Caleb, something shifted. This wasn't about intimidation or power. This was gratitude so heavy it was hard to carry. Marcus learned about Caleb's life in pieces, about the long hours, the losses, the way he never missed a shift. He learned that Caleb had no family left, no savings, no safety net. What started as a thank you became something else entirely, a recognition of a debt that couldn't be repaid with words. Overnight, Caleb's life changed in ways he never imagined. The next morning, the low rumble of motorcycles filled the school parking lot. Dozens of bikers stood together, not in menace, but in respect. They raised money for Caleb without him asking. They paid off his debts. They arranged for him to move into a small house closer to work, fully furnished, repairs already done. Marcus used his connections to get Caleb a better-paying facilities supervisor position, one that came with benefits and dignity. The man who once scrubbed floors unnoticed was now being thanked by people who knew exactly what loyalty meant. More than the money or the job, it was the way people looked at Caleb now that changed him. Teachers stopped to talk, students waved. Noah visited him every morning, calmer, safer, knowing the man who saved him was nearby. Caleb found himself smiling more, standing straighter, feeling like he belonged somewhere again. He still cleaned, still worked hard, but now he did it knowing his life mattered to someone beyond himself. As weeks passed, the story spread quietly, not as a headline, but as a reminder. Strength didn't always roar. Sometimes it wore work boots and carried a mop. Sometimes it showed up when no one else was watching. Caleb never called himself a hero, but the truth was simple. One moment of courage had bridged two worlds that never should have met, and in doing so, healed something broken in both. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Only Kindness. Your engagement helps these real, powerful stories reach people who need hope.